European leaders are meeting in Brussels today to forge a new military alliance and a new military relationship, likely, that does not involve the United States of America, as the Trump regime has pulled the United States of America into an axis of evil with Vladimir Putin of Russia and Kim Jong-un of North Korea, as well as Hungary and Belarus, voting against our NATO allies, attacking our allies like Canada and Mexico. It is utterly despicable. But French President Emmanuel Macron delivered an incredible speech to the people of France yesterday, where he talked about the new way forward. Let me share with you what French President Emmanuel Macron said. Here, play this clip.
The future of Europe does not have to be decided in Washington or Moscow. And yes, the threat is coming back from the East. And the innocence, in a way, of the last 30 years, since the fall of the Berlin Wall, is now over. In Brussels tomorrow, during the extraordinary council that will bring together the 27 heads of state and government with the Commission and the President of the Council, we will take decisive steps. Several decisions will be made that France has been proposing for several years. Member states will be able to increase their military spending without this being counted in their deficit. Massive joint funding will be decided to buy and produce on European soil ammunition, tanks, weapons, and some of the most innovative equipment. I have asked the government to be mobilized so that, on the one hand, it strengthens our armies as quickly as possible, and on the other hand, it speeds up reindustrialization in all our regions. I will bring together with the relevant ministers the industry leaders in the sector in the coming days. The Europe of defense, which we have been advocating for 8 years, is therefore becoming a reality.
Powerful words right there. We had that, of course, translated from French using AI into English for our English-speaking audience. To our French-speaking audience, I apologize for that. I'm sure you would want to hear it in its original. I just am trying to spread this video as far and wide as I can. Let me show you this other clip from this address to the nation by French President Emmanuel Macron. You can see how seriously they are taking the ultimate betrayal by Donald Trump and how seriously they're taking that in Europe to get Zelensky's back. Here, play this clip.
The war in Ukraine has now lasted for over 3 years. From the first day, we decided to support Ukraine and sanction Russia. And we did well because it is not only the Ukrainian people who are bravely fighting for their freedom, but also our own security that is threatened. Indeed, if a country can invade its neighbor in Europe with impunity, then no one can be sure of anything anymore. And it's the law of the strongest that applies, and peace can no longer be guaranteed on our continent itself. History has taught us this. Beyond Ukraine, the Russian threat is there and affects European countries, affects us. Russia has already made the Ukrainian conflict a global conflict. It has mobilized North Korean soldiers on our continent, Iranian equipment, while helping these countries to arm themselves further. Under President Putin, Russia violates our borders to assassinate opponents, manipulates elections in Romania and Moldova. It organizes cyber attacks against our hospitals to disrupt their functioning. Russia tries to manipulate our opinions with lies spread on social media, and fundamentally, it tests our limits. It does this in the air, at sea, in space, and behind our screens. This aggressiveness seems to know no boundaries, and Russia at the same time continues to rearm itself, spending more than 40% of its budget for this purpose. By the year 2030, it plans to further increase its army with 300,000 additional soldiers, 3,000 tanks, 300 more fighter jets. Who can believe in this context that it can rely on the support of Parliament? That today's Russia will stop at Ukraine. Russia has become, as I speak to you now and for the years to come, a threat to France and to Europe. I deeply regret this, and I'm convinced that in the long term, peace will be achieved on our continent with a Russia that has become calm and peaceful again. But the situation I'm describing to you is like this, and we must deal with it.
Another notable speech that I've seen that just has recently gone viral is a French senator by the name of Claude Malhuret. And let me show you what he says. He calls Elon Musk a ketamine jester. He refers to him as, and he talks about how Trump and Musk have brought the United States into the depths of depravity, into an alliance with Putin and North Korea, and that America can no longer be relied upon with respect to anything at all. These were powerful words. We translated it as well using the AI software so you can hear it. Let's play this clip right here.
An incendiary emperor, submissive courtiers, and a jester on ketamine, tasked with the purging of the civil service. It is a tragedy for the free world, but it is first a tragedy for the United States. Trump's message is that there's no point in being his ally, since he won't defend you. And he'll impose more tariffs on you than on his enemies. And he will threaten to seize your territories while supporting the dictatorships that invade you. The king of the deal is demonstrating what the art of the deal on bended knee is. He thinks he will intimidate China by bowing to Putin. But Xi Jinping, in the face of such a collapse, is undoubtedly accelerating preparations for the invasion of Taiwan. Never in history has a president of the United States surrendered to the enemy. Never has any supported an aggressor against an ally. Never has any trampled on the American Constitution, issued so many decrees.
Now, I'm sure by now you are aware that the United States has cut off all aid to Ukraine. That's a major benefit to Vladimir Putin. A slap in the face to our NATO allies, a slap in the face to the people of Ukraine. Something I want to point out, though, that was perhaps equally, if not even more dastardly by Donald Trump delivering a major win to Vladimir Putin, is that the United States stopped sharing any and all intelligence with Ukraine over the past 24 to 48 hours. So the United States was still providing logistical support to Ukraine with respect to targets, both offensive and defensive, to help with the HIMARS, for example, and the weapon systems, to help Ukrainians know about the drone swarms that are coming in, to have access to our sophisticated satellite systems here. So the United States cut that off, all of that intelligence, to basically leave Ukraine on its own. Russia has been exploiting that. Putin has been exploiting that. And Trump's basically given the green light for Putin to go and launch attacks that in the past Ukraine would be able to defend itself with. So the cruelty there is something that I think is worth pointing out, because we hear a lot in the news, and we've been reporting on it too, about the aid, military aid being cut off, but it's the intelligence as well that I think is even more of an FU to our NATO allies and to Ukraine. A new poll out of France, by the way, shows that 73% of people in France no longer even consider the United States of America an ally anymore. I've showed you polling that's very similar in Canada, where I think it was only 25-30% that actually views the U.S. positively in Canada. And we're seeing this across Europe, in our former allies. I mean, I wish they were still our allies, but how could they ally with us when Donald Trump is making alliances with Putin and saying all of these nice things about Putin? Now, meanwhile, what else is happening geopolitically? Well, you have Pete Hegseth, defense secretary, who was a Fox News host, who should never have been a defense secretary. So he's making major cuts to the American military budget. Now, I actually believe there probably should be cuts to military spending, but Donald Trump's threatening wars with everybody. Now is not the time for those cuts. My view is there should be a lot more priority spent on healthcare, on education, on providing resources to people, supporting our veterans. helping people get better jobs. I mean, that's where the Republicans believe that that money should go to the billionaires, make them even more billionaires and make them even richer. But we have our defense secretary cutting our military budget while picking wars with people. You see what they're doing? Like, who does this benefit? It benefits Putin. So as Hegseth, American Secretary of Defense, says we're lowering it about 7 to 8% per year. So then that on the aggregate keeps on increasing. Well, in China, after the United States is, declaring this trade war on China, China goes, if war is what the U.S. wants, be it a tariff war, a trade war, or any other type of war, we are ready to fight until the end. That's the official message from China's embassy to the United States. Now, Donald Trump also showing showing world leaders how people like Secretary of State Marco Rubio is really just a neutered little nobody. Trump, did you see the moment in the State of the Union where Trump mocked Marco Rubio? Here, play this clip.
We have Marco Rubio in charge. Good luck, Marco. Now, we know who to blame if anything goes wrong. Now, Marco's been amazing.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
And then finally, another message about just the idiocracy, the lack of attention to details, the stupidity of this Trump regime. So during the State of the Union or the joint address session, did you see this where Donald Trump said that, and USAID, through the Secretary of State, under Biden and others, they were doing transgender mice surgery. Transgender mice, everybody. The word was transgenic, and it was about trying to cure forms of cancer, not transgender, transgenic. And I know Donald Trump doesn't read things like he doesn't read the USMCA, the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement, which he was the person who negotiated, which he says we're being ripped off. But this just shows the world how stupid this regime is. Here, I'll play this clip.
8 million to make mice transgender. Is this real life?
And you were allowed to vote. Is this real life? Now, this woman's talking about something in particular about transgender mice, but where did she get that from?
$8 million for making mice transgender. This is real.
All right, so this was another one of those, if Trump said it, it has to be true moments. But Trump actually misspoke here big time, because what Trump should have said is scientists were making mice transgenic, not transgender. And as you can see here, transgenic mouse technology has revolutionized virtually all fields of biology and provided new genetic approaches to model many human diseases in a whole animal context. So as you can see here in the transgenic mouse model, scientists add human cells to mice so that when they introduce diseases and study them, these mice and their tissue react more like human tissue. And that's how we end up at a University of Cincinnati website where they're talking about their $8 million study to continue gene-environment interaction research. So yeah, Dunning, instead of stopping research where you say it was transgender mice, you actually stopped research that might help us figure out how diseases affect the human body. And you, Danielle, you bought the whole thing hook, line, and sinker just because it came out of Trump's mouth. Shame on you.
Now, the Gong Show going on in the press room with American chief propagandist Caroline Leavitt here. She was asked, by Peter Doocy from Fox asked this question, asked her, so we see that some officials are miffed that Zelensky showed up without a suit, but Elon doesn't wear a suit. I mean, this is what they're talking about, and they're making jokes. Well, Elon this, Elon that. Look, Ukraine is at war. Ukraine is at war because Russia unlawfully invaded it. Russia, bad guy. Ukraine, good guy. Zelensky, war hero. Putin, authoritarian dictator. Could we get this straight, please? But for the White House, this is all one big laughing matter. Pathetic. Play this clip.
At this podium.
We know that some officials here were miffed that Zelensky showed up last week without a suit for his meeting in the Oval Office. But Elon Musk never wears a suit.
He did last night.
So what is the dress code
Well, Elon Musk wore a suit last night. I'm sure you saw it.
Was he spooked by the Zelensky getting kicked out?
No, I don't think so. I'm just pointing out that he did wear a suit last night. And I think the president liked that very much.
And then finally, hat tip to our Gen Z reporter, Adam Mockler. When he was on Capitol Hill, he asked Democratic Congressmember Tom Suozzi about this powerful moment during Suozzi's town hall, where Suozzi said, look, we stand, by the way, Suozzi's district is a +5 Trump district. And Suozzi said, look, I'm usually someone who's viewed as a problem solver who brings Democrats and Republicans together. He's like, there's nothing to bring together when it comes to that. What I saw there when Donald Trump attacked Zelensky, the way Donald Trump treated Ukraine, it was beyond pathetic. Here, watch this.
And I'm a person who wants to work together across party lines to get things done. I pride myself on that. I'm the co-chair of the Problem Solvers Caucus, Democrats and Republicans trying to find common ground to work to get things done. When I saw what happened at the Oval Office the other night, I was so angry. I mean, really angry, because I felt that Zelensky was ambushed. When that guy asked him a question, he said, you don't have a suit? You're coming here without a suit on? That guy was Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend. Yeah. Why is he asking questions in the Oval Office? And why doesn't he ask that question when Elon Musk shows up with a T-shirt and a ball cap on?
There you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 5 million subscribers. Thank you for watching.